Anybody remember what we talked about last Wednesday?
How our behaviors of the world shape our attitudes.
Ooh, yes. How the world shapes our attitudes and behaviors, right? Shaping attitudes and behaviors. And specifically, how the world uses movies to do that, right? Oh, this is part 3. Or 4. Three, 3.5. 3.5. We're doing music today. Okay? So now, today, by using music. Okay, the music of the world. Now, Sunday, we talked about having hope of eternal life, right? Okay? If you were not here, or even if you were here and did not, if you weren't here to hear about the hope of eternal life, I mean, I think it was really important. And so I sent out in the weekly email, I sent the link for it. But we need to have our hopes set fully on the grace coming to us when Jesus is revealed. Colossians 3 says to set our hope and mind on things above, not on the things on the earth. Now, there are certain things that the world does, and I'd like you to kind of think about this in light of heaven. It's like the world is throwing roadblocks in our way. Let's say you're trying to get somewhere. You're driving, or if you can't drive yet, you're riding. Okay? You're riding in the car, and you're excited to get to where you're supposed to be. We are supposed to be excited to get to heaven. Let's say you're on a vacation, you're going to vacation, you're excited, you're driving, and there's a traffic jam. There it was, right there. Nora said, oh. Right? It's like, no, yeah, Lake Ann, we're going to freeze out. And there's a traffic jam. Or worse yet, there's an ice storm. So when we get blocked from going to where we want to go, we get bummed. So what I talked about last week, and what I'm talking about today, is how the world tries to shape our attitudes and behaviors to detour us from where we really want to go, or actually where we say we want to go. Question is, so we should get mad when anything gets in our way, right? Just like the traffic jam, like Nora said, right? Right? So when the devil throws a roadblock in our way, literally, we should be, and yet we sometimes like the roadblocks, unfortunately. Do you understand the analogy? We sometimes like what he throws in our way. Well, music is powerful, first of all. Okay, we need to understand music is powerful. In Deuteronomy, God told the Israelites to learn a song. Deuteronomy chapter 31. God says, hey guys, write down this song and teach it to the Israelites. So he's telling Moses, write this down and teach the song to the Israelites and have them sing it so that it may be a witness for me against them. And then a couple verses later in verse 21, God says, this song will testify against them because it will not be forgotten by their descendants. Okay? So what God's saying here is, hey Moses, tell the Israelites, learn this song, have them sing it, because you know what? Pretty soon, the Israelites are going to fall away from me. And then later, the song will testify against them. They're going to be convicted by the song. Because their descendants will not forget it. You guys ever get a tune stuck in your head? You're like, yeah. Most people have had that happen. You just get a song stuck in your head. Right? That's what God's saying here. I want my song to get stuck in their head so that when they disobey, when they disobey, the song will testify against them. They're going to be convicted. That's what God's saying here. Yeah, smart move. So that tells us that God knows that song is powerful. Words affect us too. And here I'm talking specifically about the lyrics of a song. This is a verse we've looked at before, 2 Timothy 2, 16 and 17. Avoid worldly and empty chatter, for it will lead to further ungodliness, and their talk will spread like gangrene. You guys remember this word, gangrene? Anybody remember what gangrene is? It's like an infection that just spreads. Like back during the Civil War when they didn't have good antibiotics or anything like that, more people died of infection. Yeah. Yeah, right. So look at this, guys. What Paul is saying to Timothy here, catch this. Worldly and empty chatter leads to more ungodliness, and it will spread like gross infection. So what we like to do, what people like to do, people like to think, oh, not me. I'm the exception. Worldly and empty chatter will lead to further ungodliness, except to me. That's what people do in their heads. Oh, not me, though. It's okay for me. It'll spread like gangrene to other people, but not to me. That's what people do in their heads. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. So music is powerful. Words affect us. All right, I'm going to put several songs up on the screen and just some lyrics. Okay? Anybody know the song My Way by Frank Sinatra? Okay, no. Okay, you did know it, all right? By the way, this is from before I was born, okay? I am not this old, all right? It's from before I was born. But I just want to throw this on the screen. Here are some lyrics from it, okay? Look at what he's singing about here. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. I've lived a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Now, I'm not pointing this out because is this the most wicked song that I could think of? No. But do you see the little non-biblical philosophy that's buried in here? I did it God's way. Yeah, changing the way. Now I never even, seriously, I was an adult and my oldest daughter was maybe 8 or 10 years old. And we were at a fancy Italian restaurant celebrating my parents' anniversary or birthday or something like that. Okay? And this song, they were singing this song on the stage. And I liked this song. I'm like, oh yeah. And my daughter, 8 years old, 10 years old, looked at me and said, Daddy, this is a bad song. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This is like old song. This isn't like some sort of Eminem song or something. This is fine, you know? Oh, sorry. But do you see, though? Do you see, like, wait a second, though. Is it possible that this is the philosophy of the world and it emboldens people to go, hey, I'm going to just do things my way. And now what are we, many, many decades after this song, now what are we doing? Hey, we just need to live your truth, right? Just got to live it your way. So on one hand, now I'm not trying to overreact, but on one hand, I'm trying to show you that the world is sneakier than we realize. All right, well, let's look at a different song. That's So True by Gracie Abrams. Okay? Now, I had never heard of this song until I heard many of you singing it. Now, I am not, listen, I am not trying to pick on anybody, all right? I'm not saying that you're bad for listening to Frank or for listening to Gracie. I'm just trying to point out to you that things are not so innocent. All right, here's some lyrics. Now, I'm like, should I even put this up here? I will. What'd she do to get you off? Taking down her hair like, oh my, oops. Taking God's name in vain. Taking off your, whoa, what in the world is she talking about? No, I know, I'll off. But I think I like her, she's so fun. No, I hate her. This one is sneakier and harder to discern. But honestly, guys, this one should be easy to discern. For a Christ follower, is this song going to help you long for heaven? And you just be honest with yourself, okay? Now, another thing I want you to check out here, when I put Frank Sinatra up there versus when I put Gracie Abrams. Sorry, I don't even know. When I put Gracie Abrams, don't laugh at me. All right, so when I put her up there, when I put her up here, you guys were like, oh, right? It's almost like a kid, like, oh no, don't take my candy from me, right? Now, if you listen carefully, guys, if you're holding on to something in the world and God cannot take it out of your hand, there's something wrong with it. I want to just encourage you, whatever you have in life, hold it loosely. Okay? Hold it loosely so that the Lord can come and take it without a fight. Okay? Could be anything. It could be your money. Hold your money loosely so that if the Lord comes and says, hey, there's a need over here, God can just come and take your money. You don't want to tug of war with God over your money. You don't want to tug of war with God over Gracie Abrams either. Hold things loosely. Okay? Let's look at some more, huh? This is fun. Oh, love songs. Loosely. Hold it loose. Love songs, right? Let's look at a verse from Song of Songs. This actually is repeated 3 times in the book of Song of Songs. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's a time when love awakens, when love desires to be awakened. And that time, generally, what happens when love awakens in people is they end up, getting married or something. Okay? There's a warning here. And basically, this is don't arouse, don't stir up, don't wake up love too early. Too early. Now, love songs. Okay? Waking up and stirring up love too early can be particularly problematic. Okay, so this is just simply an opinion. All right, there's nothing in the Bible. The phrase "love songs" it's not in the Bible. Okay, and so I'm giving you some wisdom just to be careful with. Okay, the world distorts what true love is. Okay, it thinks love is kissing. Okay, it distorts what true love is, and you need to understand that. So if you're listening to a, quote, love song from somebody who does not know Jesus, okay? Now, if somebody denies that Jesus is the Christ, what does the Bible call that person? An antichrist. Not the antichrist, but an antichrist is he who denies the Father and the Son. Okay? So you need to be very careful listening to any songs written by an antichrist. Does that make sense as a Christian? Just being careful with it. Die with a Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars. I've never listened to this song, but I looked at the Billboard. I just went to Billboard Top 100, and I think this was the top one, at least last week. I don't know if it still is. Okay. Here's some lyrics. It's because you already know what you mean to me, and our love's the only war worth fighting for. Wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. Nobody's promised tomorrow. So, I'ma love you. That's not even a sentence. Okay, but anyway, I'ma love you every night like it's the last night, like it's the last night. If the world's ending, I want to be next to you.
I think the point is for us
I-
to not sing.
I would ask if anybody knows this song, but I already have my answer. So, now, this is not full of swear words, right? So this is why as Christians, we can't just go, well, are there swear words? Okay, that's fine. Is it? We have to discern it. So I want you to look at this. Our love's the only war worth fighting for. Is that what the Bible says?
I have a question for after.
Okay. So I love my wife, okay? I love my wife. She's my best friend. Okay? Anyway, but if I said, hey, my love for my wife is the only love worth fighting for, wouldn't you be like, wait a minute, you're missing something really important, right? And then you might be saying, oh, wait a minute, you're a youth pastor, you're not supposed to talk like that. Is any Christian supposed to talk? I mean, really, what is the love worth fighting for? In fact, the purpose of my love for my wife is to display Christ in the church, according to Ephesians chapter 5. Again, is this like, full of F-bombs and terrible bad words? Is it blaspheming the name of the Lord? No, but let's have some discernment, guys. Some discernment. Every night. So, I'ma love you every night like it's the last night. Now, it's emphasizing an aspect of love. Okay? Every night. And that's what the world will do. It will emphasize an aspect of love that takes place at night. Okay? Even without being explicit, that's what the focus is. I will tell you what true love actually is. Okay? True love is when your wife is throwing up and you hold back her hair so she doesn't throw up in her hair. That is more love than this stuff. But every song throws out that kind of love. Or the kind of love is where your wife gets up to take care of a crying baby in the middle of the night so you can sleep. That's what love is. Okay? And the world won't tell you that in these songs. It'll pump you full of ideas. Oh, I want somebody to think like this about me. And just be careful with the love songs. That's what I'm trying to say. Be careful. Lyrics don't affect me. I've heard this a lot. Studies say otherwise. Okay, studies say if you listen to, don't people say, hey, have you ever heard of mood music?
Yes.
Yeah, in a restaurant, there's certain music they have for the mood. If it's an elegant restaurant, it's probably not, it's probably not, you know what I'm saying? Right? There's mood music, because music puts you in different moods. So studies say that listening to romantic, lovey music awakens those kinds of feelings. And Song of Songs, chapter 8 says, don't awaken and stir that up. It's hard enough being teenagers. It is hard enough being pure without constantly stirring up those thoughts. Isn't it? I've been a teenager. It's hard enough being an adult. It's hard enough being older than teens and having a pure mind. Sad versus happy music also matters. Some people, when they're sad, they're like, I just want sad songs so I can just be sadder. Careful with that. Careful with that. Okay? There's a whole lot in the Bible about hope and praise and worship. Careful about those spirally sad songs.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sad music and stuff.
Yeah.
What if it's like an instrumental song that just like being sad? It
Well,
just has that kind of melody to it.
I'm not here to put out rules and stuff like that, but as a guideline, the memory verse we're talking about says, rejoice in the Lord always. So I'm not sure, like maybe like listening to music that might help me rejoice could be more in line with that verse. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I would never say it's always wrong to listen to sad music. But I'm just like, let's look at what the scriptures are pointing us toward and try to point toward that too. if that makes sense. So here's the key, really. Does your entertainment bring you closer to Jesus, whether it's movies or music? You know, we're again, think about a road trip somewhere and a traffic jam. Like, oh, this is hindering me from getting to my destination. If our number one goal in life is to be close to Jesus, well, does the TV, does the movies, does the music help me with that? If so, great. Discernment is needed, okay? Discernment. What makes you beautiful? By One Direction. Okay. All right, we don't need to sing this, all right? But I'm a little on the fence on this one, okay? Here's why, all right? Look at what it says. The reason it says you don't know you're beautiful, and that's what makes you beautiful. When I hear that line, that makes me think of 1 Peter 3 about, hey, don't let your beauty come from outward adornment. You know, they're not looking at the outward beauty there. That's kind of cool. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then there's like this, the way you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. I'm like, oh boy, I don't know. So I'd probably pass on this one personally, but yeah.
This is a question kind of
Yeah.
So the Bible, like you just said, talks about like what you just said.
1 Peter 3, yeah.
Yes. And how come like every person in the Bible, like almost everybody in the Bible, talks about how they were handsome, beautiful, like
Even David, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if that's not what you should be focusing on, why is that?
It is mentioned a few times, for sure. A lot of times the appearance isn't mentioned, but yeah, David comes to mind.
Well, like a lot of times they read about like
Samson.
marrying wives, like, oh, she was very beautiful, because I'm reading through the Bible right now. She's very beautiful. And it's like, why?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's definitely a thing, right? I have a whole lesson on beauty that we'll get to. We're not going to get to it today, but yeah. So this one, I just want to point out to you, I'm not trying to say good or bad on this per se. I'm just saying, hey, to not think you're beautiful, not know you're beautiful, that's good. That's good. You should not be puffed up. But then there's other stuff in here, like flip your hair gets me over. I don't think that's super holy. But, Nowhere Man by the Beatles. You guys probably don't know this song. All right, check this song out. I like this song. This song actually encourages me in the Lord. So I wanted to put this up here. This is an example of a secular song. I'm not up here saying no secular music. I'm up here saying discernment is needed, guys. And as far as I can tell, most secular music is kind of trash. But anyway, this is one. Here's a real nowhere man sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. He doesn't have a point of view. He knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. He's as blind as he can be, and he just sees what he wants to see. When I hear this song, it makes me think, I will not be a nowhere man. I'm going to be a heavenly man. The nowhere man to just see what you want. I'm not going to do that. I am not going to just see what I want to see. So when I listen to this song, I'm like, it pumps me up to be a man of God. I don't want to be a nowhere man. Somebody else listens to this song. Maybe it's just depressing to them. They don't want to listen to it. Fine, don't listen to it. That's what I'm trying to say. The things you listen to the things, whether it's by the Beatles or whether it's by Matt Redman. I can't think of anybody else. Okay. Whoever it's by, whatever you listen to, does it bring you closer to Jesus? That's the point. So please don't hear me say, we're not trying to get bad categories, good categories. We are trying to say, hey, is this bringing me closer to Jesus? And we have to be careful with the secular music. Got to be careful with the romantic stuff. Certainly, sexually explicit stuff and stuff like that, I didn't even bother. Obvious. I hope it's obvious. Shouldn't be there. Okay? And this is the last slide I have before we break into small groups. Philippians 1, 9 and 10 says this. This is my prayer, that your love may abound your love abounding for Jesus and his people. When your love abounds for Jesus and his people more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, then you may be able to discern what is best. Be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. And that's what it's about. Okay? So, again, I just want to emphasize, nobody should leave here tonight thinking, wow, whew, Jason went on a rant against my favorite music or anything like that. I'm simply encouraging discernment. Compare what you listen to with the Word of God. Does it bring you closer to Jesus or not? And if not, hold it loosely. Ask God. And if he's trying to take it out of your hands, let him. Okay? Let him do it. That's the key. Next week, I'll talk to you about how I pick my entertainment, how I pick my movies. Just as an idea, as an example. I always look at parent guides, for example, for myself, not for my children. I look, I'm like, do I want to even try this movie? All right, anyway, we'll talk about that next week. But we're going to break into small groups, and we'll have time in small groups to have some discussion and some questions and stuff. And then in small groups, we'll also pray and dismiss from there, I think. Okay. Good?